Am I the asshole? Wife got my sister fired. I am currently fighting with my wife. She has a high position at a university. She has her PhD and has little respect for people who don't have an education. My sister is the same age as my wife, and she is also very successful. Probably a bit more than my wife. She doesn't have the education my wife does, but she has managed to be successful. She does lie on her resume saying she has a BA degree. Recently, my sister was hired as a big wig for a company in NYC. My wife was so angry when she heard about it. She said that my sister was a liar and a fraud and that she should never have been given the job. Flash forward 2 weeks. My sister calls me to tell me that she was let go because someone called the office to let them know that she did not have a BA degree. When I brought this up to my wife, she admitted that she did in fact call my sister's job and let them know. I was stunned with this news. My sister is responsible for taking care of our sick mother, and she is an incredible person. She has worked over 2 decades in her field and she has been very successful. I'm aware that she should not lie on her resume, but the company hired her after a background check, and at the end of the day, what the fuck cares? I had a huge fight with my wife about butting into my sister's business. I pointed out that she herself has lied about her experience at times, and that she should have stayed out of it. Now my sister is unemployed and I have no idea how she is going to pay for our mother's nursing home fees. I have little money and my wife certainly isn't going to help. This decision by my wife is causing unbelievable ripples in our family. My sister helps pay for our niece's college, she's paid for our other sister's medical care after major surgery, and she's also helped me out by paying for my rehab 3 years ago when my insurance wouldn't cover the full 30 days. She also donates 10% of her income to St. Jude's Children's Hospital. She's a good person who wasn't able to afford college. My wife is livid with me for being angry with her. She says that I should support her and understand that this is a major issue for her, people lying about degrees, etc. And that it's my sister's fault for lying. And that maybe now she'll get a job that she's actually qualified for. I have not told my sister that my wife got her fired, and my wife has threatened to leave me if I tell her. Am I the asshole for being angry at my wife for doing this to my sister? Am I the asshole for not telling my sister how this happened? Not the asshole. If your wife threatens to leave you for telling others about her actions, that's a pretty good indication that she's ta. Also, she's a giant asshole for throwing around divorce as a means to manipulate your behavior. She'd rather divorce you than own up and feel embarrassed by her shitty actions, which speaks volumes about her. Sorry, man. Not the asshole for being angry at your wife, but you YWBTA if you don't tell your sister and stay with a horrible woman who treats others like that. One lied about a degree, but from what you've written is a very kind woman who gives back to her family and the community regularly. The other is a jealous harpy who couldn't stand someone without a degree doing well in life because it brought up her own insecurities. Okay, so it was totally wrong of your sister to lie about having her BA, but unless it is a profession where people's lives or livelihoods are at risk, then I don't see it as one of the 7 deadly sins. Your wife though just sounds like an awful person, and she herself has lied about her experience before. People in glass houses should not throw stones. As for your relationship, I think you need to take a long hard look at the person she is. This particular hill she has chosen to die on, for the principle of it, has actually caused you and the people you love increased hardship. As with any of these stories, I am sure there is more to it than this. That she is mad at you for not standing by her is full-on priceless. You are not the asshole. If your wife wants to act like the degree police, she needs to be upfront about it. That was underhanded and fueled by envy and hate. Your wife sounds like a true narcissist and needs to get a grip on why she feels so threatened. If I was in your shoes, I'd be walking out the door, same day. Your wife is a fucking asshole, for this and her attitude since. Tell your sister, she deserves to know. If only to hide her future employment from your wife. Incidentally, I'm a high earner without a degree. Your sister shouldn't lie, but ultimately, ignorant recruiters will place education requirements and skip very qualified people. It's bullshit and I don't support it. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. I don't agree with your sisters to lie, and this was a natural consequence of it. Your sister gambled that she could get away with a lie, and she lost. I've got very little sympathy for her on that one. However, your wife just set your whole family on fire, treated your sister with contempt and hatred, and that's not reasonable or responsible. Your marriage is probably over whether you tell your sister what happened or not. It probably should be. A woman who will do that kind of harm to you sister, your mother, your niece, will do it to you too if she feels justified. Your wife has threatened to leave you? Beat her to it. Your wife should mind her own business, which makes her the asshole. Your sister is an asshole for lying about a BA. No matter how good of a person is, do not lie about accomplishments which aren't yours. You are the asshole for the fact you keep defending your sister. I kind of understand your wife's anger. She worked very hard for her degree and your sister just makes one up and is equally successful. Kind of see where your wife is coming from. Edit. Thanks for the awards, kind strangers. Some responses to some questions. My wife visited my sister's LinkedIn and that's how she figured out that my sister was lying about her degree. As to why I don't help, I've been out of work for the past few months and just started a new job. My wife makes more money than I do, but does not feel it should be our responsibility to help my family out. When I was in rehab, my wife's insurance covered 60% of the costs and she didn't not want to go into our savings, so my sister volunteered to pay the rest of the cost. Not the asshole. Your wife is an asshole. Your sister has been in the field for 2 decades. She's qualified. This isn't some 22-year-old with no experience. Unfortunately, we live in a society where having a college degree doesn't mean qualified, it's basically just become a minimum bar. And those who can't afford college can't then advance. It's not like your sister is lying about having a medical degree or something, I hope. And the fact that your wife won't help with your mother's nursing home fees. She has a "I've got mine," and doesn't care how many people she screws in the process. How do you and your wife address finances in the home? Although 20 years in the field, does your sister actually need to put education on her resume? Dude, file for divorce. Your wife is toxic. I do think it's a betrayal for your wife to call your sister's company. But I also think you're way too cool with your sister's lie. She conned her way into a job that others get with years of hard work. Not the asshole. I don't care if your sister said she'd been to the moon on her resume. Your wife just knowingly and intentionally threw a wrench into your sister's life's work career and put your mother's well-being at risk, and for what? She literally gained nothing by doing this except the smug satisfaction that she shit on someone without a degree and got them fired. I can't believe all of the people here saying your sister is the asshole for lying on her resume. This is your wife's personal issue, and she has injected herself into someone else's business because she didn't feel like your sister deserved what she had. Your wife is a giant Your sister shouldn't have lied, but your wife was much more likely doing this because she was petty and jealous rather than principled. It's up to you whether you tell your sister. Be prepared for a shitstorm if you do. I'm actually shocked your sister got away with pretending to have a BA for so long. Everywhere I've worked asks for copies of certificates and transcripts when you start. So your sister shouldn't be lying, but it wasn't harming your wife, so I say they both suck and I would stay out of that situation. Everyone sucks here. Your wife is an asshole for being so snobby about education. Your sister is an asshole for lying on her resume. You're an asshole for defending your sister like she's a saint, when she's a liar who is scamming her way into jobs. It's entirely possible that if she had been honest on her resume that she'd have gotten the job anyway. It's hard to say. But I'd be hard-pressed to retain an employee after finding out they lied about something so big during the hiring process, even if it didn't matter whether or not the person had a degree. It isn't about the degree, it's about integrity. I don't know what to make of this mess. Your sister shouldn't have to be supporting all those people with no help. You're asking how she can support everyone without a job. You should be asking who is going to step up and help her. I detect a little bit of a poor me attitude in you that keeps you from fully standing up to your wife. Everyone sucks here, including your sister a little bit. If she hadn't been playing Lady Bountiful, she would have taken the time to get a degree. Your wife shouldn't have involved herself, but your sister is a fraud and you seem way too comfortable with that. Your wife has strong sense of academic integrity, which makes sense given her career path. Everyone sucks here lies always come out in the end. Everyone sucks here. Your sister has been committing fraud and got all those wonderful jobs on false pretenses. Your wife should have butted out, but the fact that you see nothing wrong with what your sister did makes you kind of sucky too. Your wife didn't get your sister fired, your sister got your sister fired. Also, your sister has had many chances to go to college. It sounds like she has had disposable income and the brains for a degree for years. She just preferred lying about it. Your wife is not wrong to judge the fuck out of her. If your dishonest sister were the only one to suffer, I'd think what your wife did was morally neutral to positive. But since there is so much collateral damage, I see why you're angry. I get what the other people say about your sister lying about her degree. But she worked in that field for many years and is experienced enough to do the job. And since your wife lied about her experiences herself, I would assume she would be more understanding. But what really makes me itch is that your wife knew what role your sister played in all of y'all life and how important the job offer was. She doesn't get to harm your family just because she doesn't agree with it morally, and I don't understand she could disregard your family needs like that. That just shows me that even in other cases your wife won't consider the well-being of your family, which should be talked out and discussed before moving on with her. If your sister were truly qualified for the job, she would have gotten it without lying. She'll never actually know what she's qualified for since she lies literally all the time. You can argue she's a good person for donating money, but does taking the job away from someone who put in years of hard work and thousands of dollars negate that? Who's to say? You're the A for enabling her because you can justify it, she's the A for all the fraud, and TBH I think your wife is actually okay for calling but is kind of an A for the ultimatum after. Not the asshole, your wife seems horrible. Wife obviously sounds jealous and overinvolved. But honestly, you and your sister's nonchalant attitudes about a pretty major lie on her resume are concerning. You should not be defending that. Your sister may be a very good person in other areas of her life, but fraud is never okay, especially when it is significant enough to take opportunities away from people who paid for college. You and your sister both need to understand how wrong that is. Not the asshole, your wife and your sister are though. Wife 90% and sister 10%. Your wife is jealous and insecure, and since she has a issue with this, she sabotages your sister's life. You are not the asshole for being angry with your wife, but you would be the asshole if you didn't tell your sister what happened. She has the right to know. Your wife deserves to deal with the consequences of her actions, and if your sister will discover later what happened and that you knew and basically lied to her by omission to cover your wife, she won't forgive you, and I suspect that neither will the rest of your family. Your sister is a bit of the asshole for lying, but in this situation it's the pot calling the kettle. Your sister is an asshole for lying about achievements that weren't hers and conning her way into a job. Your wife is an asshole for not minding her own business, but I see where she's coming from. You're the asshole for being way too damn cool with your sister's lies. Since homie below wants to get abusive instead of just ask why, I see where the wife is coming from. I'll just put it here: the sister lied her way to the top, the wife did the work. I can see why she's pissed. Did she take it too far? Yes, definitely. Imagine running a race in first place and someone steps off the sidewalk and crosses the finish line with you and they declare it a tie despite that person never starting at the beginning. LMAO, your sister lied to get into her job. Many jobs have repercussions, dangerous ones, if people lie and aren't caught about what they didn't or aren't able to do. You sound insecure. Your wife has an education and think your sister getting ahead in life without doing the work for it makes her more successful. It doesn't. It makes her a liar. But at the same time, your wife truly didn't have to stick her nose into her business. She also seems jealous and self-righteous. She's right about the lies, but if it's in a field that doesn't have terrible consequences without it and she's done so much good in her life with it, I think she should have let it lie where it is. You are not an asshole. Tell her. Your wife has no respect for your family. Info. What is the topic of your wife's PhD? Not so specific as to identify her. Doesn't affect judgment at all, I'm just really curious. PhDs can be really specific, and I'm wondering her area of expertise and how it plays into the chip on her shoulder. Not the asshole. WTF. How are you even questioning if you are the asshole here? Your wife is the asshole. A major one. You do not have to support her on this. What she did was out of line and needs to get off her educated high horse. She had no right to interfere with someone else's career, and what she did affected way more than just your sister. Your wife is not better than anyone for being educated. In fact, her actions were the opposite of educated. She should have wished success for your sister, but her insecurity and pettiness destroyed your family instead. Above all of this, she threatens you with divorce? Fuck that manipulative bullshit. You're not the asshole. Tell your sister if you want to and be enraged at your crazy wife. Not the asshole. I am sorry you are in this situation. Your sister lied about her degree, dude. That's fraud. Info. You may not know this, but did they take your wife's word for it, or did the company verify your wife's claim through the registrar's office at the school? Jesus. Literally nobody in that story handled or handles anything right. It was a mess from start to finish. Y'all need to get your lives straight on a personal level. I'm with your wife. Your sister should have not lied in first place. Once her company found out, she would not get a job from companies as long as they get references from that company. It's karma biting. At least, her position is now available for hire with real degree. It is fair. Life's not fair sometimes, you know that. Ditch your wife. Tell your sister. But tell her you take her side. You don't fuck with people's source of income like that. To make it worse in a fucking pandemic. Your sister was your wife's sister-in-law. Family should help, not hurt each other. I can understand being a little jealous, but not to that degree. Damn. Your sister sounds like a saint too. Not the asshole. Info. Is this the same sister who inadvertently fucked up your new job, though to be fair, you fucked it up by sending you an enormous amount of weed while you're trying to quit? Maybe, just maybe, your wife is mad about that too. Not the asshole, and leave your wife if she is will to get your family fired for nothing. She isn't worth being in your family. Lying about having a degree is bullshit, and she deserved to be fired. Having an attitude that people without a degree are somehow inferior to you is also bullshit. Defending your sister is also bullshit. She lied in order to get a job, and you're defending her because the results of her lies are going to hit your wallet. That's pretty selfish. Lying on your resume is a big deal. I realize lots of people do it. Lots of people also deserve to be fired for doing it. Still, life experience can be substituted for a degree in many companies. There is no need to lie if you're good at what you do. Unless you run into a pompous twit like your wife that thinks intelligence is impossible without the academic world. Why can't you afford to help pay for your mother's fees? If you want to help, make it happen. Your sister sucks for lying. Your wife is a duck for getting her fired and not wanting to help your family. I totally get being pissed when someone does well despite lying, cheating, which is probably what your wife is feeling. And if you want a spouse who is more family-oriented, maybe you shouldn't be with your wife. Not the asshole. Your wife is absolutely awful. I don't think I can look at my spouse the same way again if that turns out to be their character and conduct. I have a master's in mathematics and a programming job, and my education is so useless in the real world it's kind of ridiculous. You'd think my degree would match my job better than most people's degrees match theirs. Could be true, but the relevance is extremely marginal. Degrees are overrated. I respect it insofar as it gets your foot in the door, but if I ever do hiring, I'll go for analytical thinking ability and experience over degree holders any day. But I guess my opinion doesn't matter since I don't have a PhD. I'm just an uneducated rube. Everyone sucks here. Your wife should have stayed out of it. She shouldn't have got involved. Your sister is an asshole because it's not fair to lie about having a degree when there are people out there that actually worked for their degrees and deserve that job more. You have no backbone if you don't divorce your wife after this. I seriously don't understand how this isn't a dealbreaker for you. Ruining your sister's career directly hurts your mother and family. The fact that you can stand by and watch her do this is pathetic. Of course nobody should lie on their resume, but for fuck's sake, it was just a job in sales. Grow a backbone. Everyone sucks here, you and your wife. I'm going to go with Your sister was getting a sales job, but it's obviously a higher level one to be able to pay for nursing home fees, college, various other medical bills, and a 10% yearly charitable donation. Either she's been in the industry long enough for a degree not to matter, or she's honestly just amazing at her job. Both are reasons not to lie about a degree, and she could have prevented someone actually more qualified from getting the job, so being dishonest in general makes your sister an awe. When you say it's okay for your sister to lie because she's more successful than your wife who has a degree, that makes you an awe. Your wife tattling on your sister makes her an awe. Not the asshole. Your wife's horrible. Your sister was lying, but what did that have to do with your wife? Neither your wife nor your sister seem right in this scenario. Your wife is the asshole. She is jealous and petty, also sort of a hypocrite since you said she has also lied about experiences. She does not sound like a good person. And the fact that she has little respect for people who don't have an education is awful. I'd tell your sister because she deserves to know who did this to her. It's cruel to her go on believing she can trust someone when she can't. I don't agree that your sister should have lied, but I think this may have been something that snowballed. Everyone sucks here. Your wife is an asshole because her actions are obviously based on pettiness and jealousy. Your sister and you because she absolutely should not lie about a degree. It's one thing to fudge experience, but lying about a degree or accreditations is a completely different level. Depending on the kind of work she does, if her client hires the company based on the experience and pedigree of the employee team, then it opens the company to lawsuits. What she does with her money is nice and all, but she's putting other people's livelihoods at risk in order to obtain it. Your wife really should have minded her own business, but your sister was putting out a fraudulent resume, which is always something that puts her at risk of being terminated at any time and something that will ruin her reputation in her field. Honestly, you should have spoken to your sister from a concerned place a long time ago.